coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News starts now.
Here's what's happening right now. We are in the middle of a heat wave. Everyone is talking about how hot it is. Ooh. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jim Marie.
And I'm Emily Spain. Thanks for joining us. Temps in the 90s with heat indexes in the 100s for the next few days. Let's get the latest from Tim Schmidt. Hey, Tim.
Yeah, already that heat index down toward the Lake of the Ozarks is at 112. It feels like 109 in Columbia, feels like 107 in Jefferson City. Some areas really feeling the heat and humidity. And the excessive heat warnings and heat advisories continue through Saturday. Got to remember that heat index, at least through 9 to 10 o'clock in the evenings, have been staying near or just around 100 degrees. Doesn't cool off much at night. It warms up very fast. Temperatures could be almost near the upper 90s, nearing 100 in a few spots tomorrow as well. Excessive heat tips. Stay hydrated. Got to limit that outdoor activity. Got to take some breaks to avoid the alcohol and caffeine drinks like coffee. Also limit that sun exposure. Those are all things that can really start to wear on your body. Your body works overtime in this type of environment. We'll have some more tips coming up for you here in a little bit. Also, there are some storms in the forecast for the next couple of days. We'll have a look at that forecast coming up here in a few minutes.
Speaking of hot weather, cooling centers around Columbia are working in full force. KOMU 8 checked out one of the cooling centers located at the Arc. The Arc is an activity recreation center, so it has certain amenities like a gym, pool, and track, but it also offers free spots for people to cool off in this summer heat.
People that are out walking, whether they're doing grocery shopping across the street, that heat can fatigue you very quickly and can kind of creep up on you when you're least suspecting it. So it's a good outlet for people, especially that are walking through this area.
Higginbotham says he's seen several people with groceries stop in to cool off. He says there's no check-in. You can just stop by and leave on your own time.
Maryland police say they have a gunman in custody after several workers were shot at a newspaper office in the capital city of Annapolis. Police confirm 5 people died and many more wounded. NBC's Dan Sheneman reports.
Shots fired in Annapolis, Maryland. Initial reports say several people were shot at a building that houses the Capital Gazette, a local newspaper.
We do have injuries. We did have an active shooter situation inside that building.
Phil Davis, a Gazette reporter, tweeted, "A single shooter shot multiple people at my office, some of whom are dead."
We believe that it is one suspect, but again, that's one of the many things that we have to go through in our checklist to make sure that that building's secure.
Local police say the building was evacuated. People inside were sent to a nearby department store while investigators combed the scene. The Associated Press quotes police who say the situation is active and ongoing. Maryland's governor tweeted that he's absolutely devastated to learn of this tragedy in Annapolis. Dan Sheneman, NBC News.
The AP reports officers are now standing guard at several media agencies in New York, including the New York Times. Carjay Lyles, a former Mizzou track and field assistant coach, filed a racial discrimination lawsuit against the head coach and UM curators Tuesday. Today, MU released a statement saying, in part, "We deny that there was any racial discrimination or retaliation, and we will respond to Mr. Lyles' claims in court." We'll have more on the story coming up on KOMU 8 News at 6.
A Cole County judge found the head of the Missouri State Highway Patrol went too far in firing a trooper after he was convicted of a misdemeanor in the 2014 drowning death of Brandon Ellingson. A judge ruled Wednesday the patrol's superintendent cannot go beyond the recommendation of a disciplinary review board that found Trooper Anthony Piercy should be reinstated and relocated. The case started back in 2014 when the 20-year-old Brandon Ellington was arrested for boating while intoxicated. After he was handcuffed, he fell from a patrol boat. His body was not found until the next day. The Ellington family filed a lawsuit in December of 2014 accusing negligence and later a cover-up. And they eventually received an out-of-court settlement of $9 million from the state in 2016. In June of last year, Piercy pleaded guilty to a lesser charge, and he was sentenced to 2 years of probation and 10 days in jail. He was then fired in December of last year. He sued to get his job back, which brings us to today's ruling.
After 2 years of bickering, the city of Columbia released the results of a police officer survey. It shows many officers want significant changes within the department. KOMU 8's Evan Dotson joins us here in the studio with more results from the 2-year-old survey.
Jim and Emily, I dug through these 57 pages of survey records to see what police officers are saying, and some are not happy with the department. The city conducted a survey to see how it could improve the morale of the police department, and after nearly a 2-year legal battle, the city finally released what officers are saying. I went through the records to see the officers' responses and found a lot of the same answers. Many officers complained about working long shifts. One responded with, after 4 or 5 years of 12-hour shifts, the officers are worn out. When asked how the department could improve morale, one officer stated, there's about 100 answers here. Another says, CPD is establishing a pattern of, if I ignore the problem, it will go away. The Columbia Police Officers Association has been after these survey results for more than 2 years, saying it's a violation of the Missouri Sunshine Law for the city to keep them private.
We tried again to get them. They continued to refuse our request, so we had no other choice but to file litigation.
And the officers' complaints go on and on.
The officers commented on their loss of pay, that with inflation and increased insurance costs, they actually make less money every year.
So why didn't the city release these records earlier?
Who knows?
The city released a statement saying it strongly disputes there was a violation of the Sunshine Law, but it will comply. Now, I reached out to the city for comment but didn't hear back. I also contacted CPD and they referred me to that same statement from the city. In the studio, Evan Dodson, KOMU 8 News.
The Women's March is back in Washington, this time protesting the separation of families at the southern border. Today, hundreds of demonstrators gathered outside the Justice Department, calling for all women to join the group to stop the jailing of children and their parents. An HHS spokesperson said today the department has nearly 12,000 children in its care right now, and that's up 70 from last week. The numbers show little progress in reuniting children with their parents despite a recent court order.
Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein and FBI Director Christopher Wray faced tough questioning today from the House Judiciary Committee.
I am committed to doing this job by the book in all respects, and there's no amount of political pressure that's going to dissuade me from that by either side.
Committee Republicans say the FBI conspired against President Trump by not turning over documents they believe would show improper conduct by the agency. Congressman Jim Jordan accused Rosenstein of personally withholding information from Congress. Rosenstein and Wray said despite errors in judgment, there was no political bias with the investigation.
First Lady Melania Trump is back on the road to visit those dealing with her husband's immigration policies, this time in Tucson, Arizona. She was more careful about her outfit of choice this time, choosing to wear a black sweater and white slacks. This after she wore a controversial jacket last week in Texas that read, "I really don't care, do you?" The First Lady's spokesperson says Melania believes in, quote, strong border laws and governing with heart. It's being called the largest healthcare takedown fraud in American history. Find out how many are accused of being involved.
Plus, a break-in at a family-owned Columbia pet store. We'll have an update.
How about a live look over Columbia Regional Airport? Your time is 5:07. This is KOMU 8 News, First at 5. Coverage you can count on.